The Gemara at the end of Makos, which we spoke about previously, Chav Dalid, very, very powerful Gemara of Rabbi Kiva and the Chachamim. The Chachamim saw the base of Migdash in ruins and foxes coming out of the Kodesh Kodashim, and they were crying. And Rabbi Kiva starts laughing. He said, Rabbi Kiva, why are you laughing? So he asked him, why are you crying? And when the back and forth, Rabbi Kiva was able to explain to them that what they saw wasn't so simple, and they were comforted by his words. But as I was learning this Gemara yesterday, it occurred to me that this seems like a very, very unusual and even coarse response. Seeing foxes coming out of the Kodesh Kodashim to start laughing. Whatever explanation you're going to give, but how could you start laughing when you see the foxes coming out of the Kodesh Kodashim? Such a terrible sight. It almost seems coarse and insensitive to the kedusha of the base of English. There's another Gemara in Sanhedrin Daf Kufala, very similar Gemara. The Gemara says Rabbi Lezer was very sick, and the Chachamim went to visit him, and again everybody cried. Rabbi Kiva laughed, and the same back and forth. Why are you laughing? Why are you crying? And he was comforted them. But just imagine going into a hospital room, somebody who has Yena Machla, who's very, very sick, he's about to die, and you come in and you start cracking up. It just doesn't seem right. Something seems wrong over here. The response of a laugh seems to be out of hand, seems to be out of place, no matter how you're going to explain it. So there must be a deeper message going on in this Gemara that Chazal are telling us. Every message of Chazal is very, very deep. So what is it? What is it? As we've spoken so many times here on these shirim, Rabbi Kiva was the quintessential thanker for things which bad. He was the Talmud Muvhak of Nachum Ish Gamzu. Right? Nachum Ish Gamzu's message was Gamzu Latova. For Nachum Ish Gamzu, there was no bad. Everything was good. Gam, like we always say, Gam. Also, this is good. When you connect the event, the seemingly bad event happens to everything else, then it becomes good because you realize everything in perspective, right? But Rabbi Kiva understood that just doesn't work for most people. Most people are not able to be threatened to be killed by a king for giving them a box of dirt and to be happy about it, yeah, and to be totally calm about it, right? That's why Rabbi Kiva instead was Matakan Halachav, Koma David Rachman Latavavid, seeing the bad and recognize that good will come from it, right? But Rabbi Kiva's secret, the sod of Rabbi Kiva, was don't get caught up at what's actually happening. And we always call this being trapped in time. A person could be trapped in time and just look at right now and focus on it, right? And like this is what was happening to the Chamim. When you see foxes coming out of the Kodesh Kodashim, it's like it's startling, it's tragic, it's mind-boggling, it's terrible. Any adjective you could think of, that's certainly the way a person's initial reaction is to it, right? But Rabbi Kiva was saying, don't let yourself be brought to that emotional state, because that emotional state, that explosion of emotions, that the Chachamim came and just crying, right, pouring your eyes out, that comes from just being trapped in time, seeing what's right in front of you right now, right? And the contrast here is, do you laugh or do you cry? If you look at just what's in front of you right now, you cry. But the laughing we'll see comes from by seeing the whole scenario of these things. And this was really I believe this is a deeper meaning in the back and forth between Rabbi Kiva and the Chamim, right? When Rabbi Kiva heard the Chamim crying, right, it wasn't that they weren't justified in crying. Right, sitting right now in front of the Kosem Ravi, and there's a whole row of people here sitting on the floor crying. And that's certainly the right thing that you're meant to be doing, mourning the base of Mikdash. Right? But Rabbi Kiva understood there was a tiny element of Yush in the Chachamim. Right? There's a tiny element of despair. Seeing foxes coming out of the Kodesh Kodashim, it looked like Klal Yisrael had hit rock bottom. Perhaps there was no salvation. It was all over. There was a tiny, tiny element of despair. A person needs to cry because unless you cry, right, hazorim bedima brina iksaru. It's only by crying and recognizing the mammoth, the paramount great extent of the loss that we have, how great it is. If you don't realize how Herculean the loss, the amazingly mammoth, tremendous loss that not having a base of English, then you can't have the joy over it. Right? So you need to cry. Crying is integral. Without the Avelis, you can't be Zochet to Simcha. Kiva understood that. But he heard in there crying a tiny, tiny element of Yush, of giving up, of lack of hope. And Rabbi Kiva wanted to get them back on to their straights thing. And that's why he laughed. Yeah? By laughing, Rabbi Kiva was showing that you're crying based on what you see now. But this is the beginning of something really great. Yeah? This is the initial prophecy, right? As Rabbi Kiva said, until the first Nevuah was in the sky, until the first Nevuah took place, that Sion will be plowed over like a field. We couldn't have the second Nevuah. The second Nevuah couldn't take place. Right? But now that the first Nevuah has happened, so now we can have the second Nevuah as well. Right? And he was giving them he was taking them out of being trapped in time and raising them above time and showing them that the end will always be laughter. Yeah? As we'll speak about in the next class. But tischak liyoyim achrei. Right? The last day, you're meant to laugh. A person can cry and cry and cry, right? Oz vadar levusha v'tischak yom achron, right? Oz vadar levusha. Initially, you're supposed to cry, but tischak yom achron. At the end, the last day, you're always supposed to cry, and this is what Rabbi Kiva was telling them, and that's the same reason you're crying. What you see now, that brings you to tears, I see that as part of the whole spectrum that's going to bring the Geula, that's going to bring the rebuilding of the base of Mikdash, right? And in fact, Ramban says, or if Chatzkel Levenstein brings Ramban, is that when you hit the bottom point, that's really, from there, you're only going to go up, yeah? When you hit rock bottom, that's when the Yeshua is really starting. And in fact, Rabbi Kiva wasn't being insensitive at all by laughing, not by the foxes coming out of the Kodesh Kodashim, and not by the Zinger of Eliezer, right? It was the most sensitive reaction that a person could possibly have. And this is why the Chachamim said, Akiva Nechamtani, Akiva Nechamtani. They said it twice, right? Why did it say it twice, right? The first time was showing them it wasn't bad. But the second time was with the laugh, saying, no, it's really good, this is really good. This is the beginning of the Yeshua, right? We see V'tislak Yoim Achron, that the end of the crying, the end of this event, will be laughing. And this is really the goal. The goal is to laugh, yeah? To laugh and laugh and laugh, right? Az Yamali Schog Pina, right? When the Gula comes, we'll understand, right? Kacholmin, when you have a dream, so you see this and you see that, and you see pictures and you see mountains and you see people, all sorts of things which are disjointed, they don't seem to make any sense. But when the Gula comes, then we're going to be laughing and laughing and laughing. We're going to understand really what is going on. Sometimes a person has a very strange experience. He doesn't know what's going on. And then when he finds out, he's laughing and laughing and laughing because he realized how uninformed and how mistaken he really was. So this is our goal. The goal is to laugh. The goal is avoda b'simcha, as the Arizal tells us. All of his giluyim, his deep, deep giluyim that he had, right over here from the Ochos Chaim, everything is all coming from, and Eitz Chaim, of course, and all the other Sfarim. It's all coming from simcha. It's all coming from laughing, right? The crying is critical because the crying helps us recognize what we lost. But the goal is to laugh, and that's what Tischak Liyoyim Achron. Mamish, to laugh and laugh and laugh and share the amazing joy of Binyan Beis Hamikdash. Amen. Kein Yiratzon.